Welcome to the Wrestling So Cool podcast. We got Just Incredible here. We're going to talk about AEW Blood and Guts. So, did you watch it live or did you record it? Because I definitely recorded.
I did both. I watched it live and I recorded it.
Okay.
Yes.
So, did you ever participate in anything like this? Because this is kind of like a war game style match.
I did. 2003. There was. The promotion still exists today. It was called MLW, and I was part of a faction called the Extreme Horsemen. It was myself, Steve Corino, C.W. Anderson, the real Barry Windham, and myself. Yeah, and myself against the extreme ECW guys like Sabu, Sandman, Terry Funk. So like we had some real legends going off. It was the double ring, double cage. So yeah, I had it one time in my life. Yes.
What promotion was that?
MLW, Major League Wrestling. They still run.
Yeah, they're still around.
Yeah, they're still around. Yep.
Apparently WWE is going to be trying to work with them.
Yeah. Yeah. They were. What's his name? Oh my God, I forgot the dude's name that runs it.
Court Bauer.
Court Bauer, yeah, he used to be a writer for WWE when I was there, and he's a big time wrestling fan, yeah, wrestling purist. And when I was done with ECW and ECW kind of fell off, obviously it was over. He tried to pick up the pieces and like say, well, you kind of realize, look, there's a deficit here, and he was running in Florida. Especially in this one building that's very famous. It's not there anymore. It's actually been knocked down. The Fort Lauderdale Memorial Auditorium, which was famous for NWA, Flair, Dusty, all that stuff. That's where we did it. And like I said, just to have like Barry Windham on one side, Terry Funk on the other, Sabu, Van Dam, Sandman, it was crazy. It was really cool stuff.
Now, did they do the same kind of rules that AEW did here?
Yes. But there was no top to the cage. That was the only thing. There was no top to the cage.
So it was one of those like normal cage matches where you can kind of escape, but in this sense, it was more like the double ring, double cage.
Yeah. The reason it was more of a fact of you probably, on that budget, you probably couldn't get a cage built with top. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, what I'm saying?
Yeah, no. It probably was more or less they had it available to them. It's the availability side of it.
Yeah. But it was a super cool match. It really was, and I think it's on YouTube now. It has to be, but it was really well done.
When did MLW form? Do you remember?
2003.
Oh, so it was brand new.
Yeah, it was just starting off. Like I said, when ECW went out of business, like a year after, Court Bauer was trying to kind of fill the void of a different promotion, as well as ROH was, Ring of Honor.
Right.
Trying to kind of, okay, ECW's gone. How do we fill that indie void that we know there's still a lot of fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
That were left behind that loved that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was one of those deals.
Yeah, because I didn't hear about MLW until recently, and I know MJF came from there.
Yeah, yep. It's funny. MJF, I've known him for. I just, dude, do you ever like realize you find stuff out way after the fact? Like I've known MJF since he was like a kid. Brian Myers, a.k.a. Kurt Hawkins from the WWF, now wrestling in Impact. He just came by my house the other day because he had an indie show and he wanted me to sign a Justin figure because he's him and Matt Cardona, a.k.a. Zach
collectors.
Right? They have the figure stuff. So he just wanted, he's on his way to a gig and it was like right near my house. I'm like, yeah, come by, I'll sign the thing. But I've known him, Brian, for a very long time. So he was MJF was one of Brian's students a couple of years ago. So I met him before he ever was anything. And it's like, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how good that kid is and how good he's going to be. He's not even touched the surface of how good I think he can be.
Yeah. He's really good, and he has that that very distinct heel, like almost Flair like thing going for him.
Yeah, he's but at the same, wrestling has always been. I don't know if it was Austin that said it or Rock or whoever said it, but I was watching a documentary recently, and we always used to shop with these guys, and it's like the best characters are the characters that are mostly you turned up to 11.
Yes, I think that was
all
Austin.
the way. Right. And I've been friends with Steve since, I wrestled him the first time in '96 before he was Stone Cold.
Right.
And I've been on the podcast twice for Steve. And, we're still cool to this day. And he's an awesome dude. And what a ride he was on, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, and we always talked about that. It's like, that's how you succeed. It's like, take your personality and just crank it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's MJF. I mean, he's not very far off from the tree. I mean, he is, of course. He's a nice
Yeah.
dude, humble dude, but he's a Long Island boy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Comes from
Right.
money,
Right.
right? Because his parents have money, he has money. Always lived a good life,
Right.
and crank it up now,
Yeah.
and that's what you get, And then, of course, you probably take bits and pieces of the universe of wrestling that he
Right.
admires, and there becomes your character.
And it worked very well, like with this whole the blood and guts, because so like one of the things I thought was kind of interesting is like his new group, the Pinnacle, were all in all white, which then and that they kind of goes to the show that they believe that they're the heroes. So kind of
Right.
trying to doing that little subliminal thing. And then you had, I think it's kind of cool, but I kind of didn't like it at the same time. Then you had the Inner Circle all in the prison gear, the prison
Yeah.
uniform, if you will, which I kind of understand where they're going with that, and it's just like that kind of seemed a little too gimmicky.
Yeah. See, the way I read it was MJ, like, you're from Florida?
Yep.
Okay, I'm well, not a New Yorker, I'm a Connecticut guy, but in Long Island, they have these white parties for the elites.
Really?
Yeah, where like even Puffy back in the day, they would all go to these parties on Long Island dressed in all white. That would be the gimmick for the
Uh,
parties. So I think that's what he was vibing on, right? Like we're
uh,
from Long Island, where the rich kids were wearing all white,
could
and
be.
then they, yeah, it could. I really don't know. I have no idea. But
No, no, no.
that's how I
a
saw it.
very it's a
Yeah.
very good thing. I took it from like the old westerns, like the hero wears white, and
Essentially, yes, and somebody mentioned that, because I read somebody's comments, some article or something, and I read that and
yeah.
I was like, that makes sense. Yes, black and white, good, bad.
Mhm.
But then I was like, but wait, he's a Long Island boy, and if you know MJF, he's a rich kid from Long Island, and what do? When it's summertime, they all go out to Long Island, to the beach, to those expensive, parties and shit, and all they do is, that's the gimmick. That's the dress code. Wear white, white
Mhm.
dresses, white slacks, white shirts. So that's how I saw it. Only because maybe I'm from the area.
Yeah, you're
You
closer.
know.
You would have more of the experience with it. It would make sense. You would be more familiar with
But
that side of it.
it's actually curious. I'd like to ask him if I ever got an opportunity. Like, where was his head at on that one?
Yeah, well, yeah, and on the other side of it, you had Tully, which is working with FTR, kind of doing like the Four Horsemen thing, and that's the other
Yeah.
side of it that you tied to it.
Yeah. Yep.
Which, man, um, everybody gave Flair a run for the money when it comes to blood in this.
Uh, Now, let me ask you this: there's been a little bit of blowback from all the, and I don't blame it on the guys. First of all, I blame it on the production. I hate to blame it
Oh,
on
I
production,
think I
but
know where you're going with this.
the camera angles on the
Yeah,
getting the blading and stuff.
yeah.
It's like, dude, like, it's 2021. Like, can't you guys, whoever's producing the show, because I know how wrestling is done. It's like, you got to say, all right, like, wide out. Like, they should have
Mhm.
said, all right, this guy's got to get color. You got to go into the
Switch the
tape, and you
cameras.
have to switch the cameras, or at least get, if you're not able to recognize it, have a bit of a delay on it, because it was just so bad.
It was bad.
It was so bad, and that's what kills them half the time, is
Mhm.
that they just miss it by that much, right? Like,
Yeah. There's been a couple things I noticed more with AEW lately, like the same week. Was it the same night? It might have been this. No, this was Impact. Impact had it where a ref got in the way in a high flyer match. It was last week. It was El Phantasmo versus VSK. In that match, the ref kept getting in the way. And then
Oh,
you
okay.
had the whole thing with AEW where the camera was catching the blading and whatnot. Now WWE has caught blading on camera plenty of times, but it was one of those where it's like you kind of ruined the whole spectacle of it. And there's a couple of times during that match where the camera was in a bad place. Jericho's fall, the camera was in a bad
Oh,
place.
it was so bad. And Bubba Ray Dudley, Bully Ray, whatever you call him,
Yeah,
when he does his radio show, Sirius XM, with
yeah,
Dave LaGreca, which I love. That's a great show. And he mentioned it perfectly. I didn't have a problem so much. Well, I don't think they needed that stunt.
no, I
Because
don't
I
think they
think
did.
that it cheapened it, right?
Hmm.
Because we all well know Jericho's not going to take. He's 50 years old, dude. I'm 47. I'm not taking that bump.
Hmm.
But still, we all think that bump is even easy to take. I guarantee you, dude. At 47, you jump off that cage backwards. You got to think, am I even hitting my mark? Right? Because you're way
Right.
up there.
Hmm.
So you're taking a risk anyway. So it's like, oof. And then B, it's not gonna tickle. You're not like jumping on your bed, you
Hmm.
know.
Right.
So anyways, but then like the way they shot it, they should have panned out real wide and not shown the impact.
Hmm.
And that's a production. That's like I'm not an expert on that, but you know what I mean. They should have made it a wider thing. Like if you and he mentioned, not me. This is his analysis. He said when they did Rikishi, and I think Rikishi wrestled Undertaker, and Undertaker threw him off into like a flatbed truck with some stuff on it.
Yeah,
Crash.
yeah, it was
They
off the side of
panned.
the
Yeah,
set. Yeah.
they panned way out, so you didn't see the kaboom,
Hmm.
which totally legitimized it and made it look a lot better than the obvious cardboard popping up.
Hmm.
But I guess they'll learn. But dude, doesn't matter when all these guys are just getting rich. I think that's the bigger issue I have with AEW is I think they have a wonderful cast, they have wonderful talent, they have a wonderful um, TV spot and everything. Everybody wants the best for it, including
Hmm.
them.
Right.
But I just think they just have to like get out of their own way. They just keep it to wrestling. Stop trying like this week. And I know we're talking about blood and guts, but this
Right.
week with Sammy Guevara doing the champagne bath, like a little bit of the bubbly thing.
Hmm. Right.
That's the Steve Austin beer bath thing. That's the Kurt. I was in the ring for the Kurt Angle milk thing. So
Oh
it's like
yeah, you were. I
I
forgot
was,
about
yeah,
that.
with the alliance. So
Yeah.
I've been there, dude. Been there, done that. So it's like, why do we have to do it? Like, they're better than this. You know what I
So
mean?
that to me, and this I'm not trying to
It's
pick on
just
Jericho.
corny. It turns corny to me, right?
Yeah, it turns a little bit corny, and I kind of feel like Jericho just wanted to do it. And there's nothing wrong with Jericho. I think he's a very creative mind, but I think some of these are just like, okay, the one that worked, and this is an example of like an idea he had that worked was the Orange Cassidy match with the mimosa. That worked,
Yes, yes, it did. Yep,
but
you're
you didn't
absolutely
have
right.
to do the bath.
Yep,
It, it
yep.
I,
No, you're
there's
right.
there's and this is going to go to another complaint about AEW. I think a lot of Cody Rhodes' stuff is he keeps acting like a heel but not becoming a heel, and it doesn't make any sense. He
Yeah, yeah.
last week the Blood and Guts when he had a match with QT Marshall, he's doing eye rakes and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, you're doing heelish tactics. Why are you not the heel?
I don't think anybody's even, and I'm not okay with it as far as storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really going to say, look, I'm a pro at the game, and this is the message I'm trying to paint. Like if I'm an artist,
Right.
okay, and I'm saying this is the picture I'm trying to paint. No, as a babyface, you don't do those things. So they are sending mixed signals. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it,
When
unfortunately.
and it's at that point where there's certain things that you can kind of get away with as a face that are kind of considered quote unquote heel tactics. But when there's something like that that's so blatant like that, it's like I was convinced like months ago he was going to turn because of it.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
they started throwing advertisements for the Go Big Show, and then there's the whole like promo he did. It's like, okay, well, I guess he's staying face, but then he keeps doing this, and it's like, are you wanting to turn, or are you just wanting to just be the best of both worlds, and it's not really working out?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a really good